Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Live Free Now show, bringing you the news, views, tips, and tools you can use to live a free, prosperous, and healthy life. My name is John Bush, and I'll be your host today. We have a very important broadcast. We are going to be talking about the specter of central bank digital currencies. We're going to talk about the Great Reset. We're going to talk about inflation, and most importantly, as we like to do on this program, as we like to do in my business, Live Free Academy, we are going to be talking about solutions, what you can do to protect yourself from the impending financial calamities that we are sure to face. I mean, everything is just kind of boiling up and brewing, from inflation to supply chain disruption, to shortages, to civil unrest, mandates, lockdowns. It's a wild world that we're living in, and I just want to put things in a particular context that I appreciate. I'm a big believer that things happen for us, not happen to us, right? It's something that Tony Robbins often harps on. Things happen for us, not to us. It's a mindset we can all adopt by choice that leads to a state of empowerment as opposed to a state of victimhood. And in that regard, these big changes we see taking place in the world, we can choose to be grateful for them because they present an opportunity not for a great reset, as the World Economic Forum desires, a great reset with centralization, more control, more surveillance, but what we like to call a greater reset, or the people's reset, a reset of the way things have been done traditionally for decades and hundreds of years, a new path forward. As this painting shows, this is a painting by Mark Hansen. I bought it for my fiance for her birthday. It's hanging up in our wall. It's called New Pioneers. It talks about two different paths we can take. One is the old path of destruction, war, deceit, manipulation, starvation, poverty. And the other is a new path, a beautiful path of abundance, harmony with ecology, all sorts of beauty. So I just want to throw that out there, right? There's a lot of crazy stuff going on, but if you're well informed and if you're an empowered person, you can make choices now and into the future that will set yourself up for a life of abundance and freedom. And I'm going to break some of that down for you right now. Before I go any further, I want to invite you out to the upcoming Exit and Build Land Summit. That's the Exit and Build Land Summit taking place November 6th and 7th. It's going to be virtual. It's absolutely free to attend the November 6th activities. We're going to be hearing from Jack Spirko, Marjorie Wildcraft, Cynthia Tina of the Foundation for Intentional Communities. It's all about buying land, leaving the big cities, and building community in rural areas. And this is going to be something that I'm going to touch on as solutions to some of the problems that we are facing right now. You are definitely going to want to work your way outside of the city. That is where a lot of the chaos, calamity, a lot of the control, a lot of surveillance, a lot of the fourth industrial revolution, which is part of the Great Reset, is going to be taking place. And it's my belief that there are greener pastures. There's more opportunity for freedom and community in the rural areas. I just moved to a 10-acre homestead myself. I also believe that land and housing and real hard assets are worthwhile investments, in addition to cryptocurrency, which we're going to be breaking down as well. So if you want to learn exactly how you can leave the city, buy land, build community, then make sure you register for the free summit. There's also a paid opportunity. I strongly encourage you to take advantage of our immersion integration package. We're going to be hearing from Joel Salatin on Sunday. We're going to be diving deep. We're going to be doing intentional community speed dating to try to link you up with like-minded people so you guys can go in and buy land together, at least move to the same area and build community together. Again, you can go to exitandbuildlandsummit.com. That's exitandbuildlandsummit.com. All right, so let's get right down to it. I've been a fan of cryptocurrency for many years now, since 2011, I started talking about it, 2012, 2013 especially. Cryptocurrency is a decentralized technology that enables people to transact with one another, to send value in the form of a digital currency to one another. And it does so in a decentralized way, meaning there's no centralized third party, whether it's a bank, a corporation, a government. There's no centralized third party that you need to rely on or trust in order to exchange that money or that information. This is awesome. It means there's no third party that can shut you down. There's no government that can shut you down. For example, I sell Kratom, drinking some right now, Brave Botanicals, myBraveBotanicals.com. I've been through so many different credit card processors. I finally just can't accept credit card or debit card because the banks, the federal government pressures the banks. They pressure the credit card companies to not do business with Kratom vendors or CBD, Delta 8. It's difficult to get credit card processing, but I can accept cryptocurrency. And there's no one that can get in the way in between the transaction of me and my client. And that's a very beautiful thing. Now, a lot of people are mistakenly dismissing cryptocurrency and decentralized blockchain altogether because they see blockchain technology being utilized for what is termed the Great Reset and the Fourth Industrial Revolution. I'm trying to set the stage here so I can introduce this concept of central bank digital currencies. But before I do that, I just want to clear up some things because there's a lot of people that are running away from cryptocurrency that think cryptocurrency is the devil, when in reality, nothing could be further from the truth, right? So the big differentiation that I want to point out is that most cryptocurrencies that I value are decentralized. Decentralization is a critical strategy, a critical way of life, a critical way of doing business, of building institutions and organizations. Decentralization leaves much opportunity for freedom and innovation. Centralization of power, of authority, of commerce, of business, of industry, of economies is the great enemy of freedom and choice, right? So we have this decentralized ecosystem coming into play. We see the International Monetary Fund is putting out propaganda against cryptocurrency, against what are called stable coins. These are cryptocurrencies pegged to the US dollar, right? And a lot of people are buying into this. I'm going to talk more about the Great Reset and the blockchain technology and how it's being used negatively here in a second, right? So I want to be very clear. What central bank digital currencies are, it's not cryptocurrency. It's not a decentralized blockchain technology. It's something very different. It is something that we very much should be concerned about. Central bank digital currencies, China is leading the way on this front. The Federal Reserve Bank in the US has discussed launching a central bank digital currency, as has the Bank of England. I want to point to an article here real quick that I discovered recently. Let me show this here to you. This is World Economic Forum's little intelligence thing. We'll talk about that here in a second. But this is an article from NASDAQ, of course, the stock market. The article title is, "Will the Federal Reserve Launch a Digital Dollar? Here's what we know." Now, I just want to be really clear right now for a second. The dollar and most fiat currencies are primarily digital right now, right? You have these paper currencies, you have cash, but the cash actually represents a bunch of ones and zeros on commercial banks and central banks' ledgers, right? And in fact, when new money gets created by these central banks, we're going to talk a bit about inflation today, that new money is simply registered as ones and zeros, right? So in many ways, we already have a bit of a digital currency, but I'm going to explain what a central bank digital currency would do to devolve from that. Or as folks that want to control people, they would say it's an improvement, right? Let's get back to this article here. For decades, the US dollar has been the undisputed global reserve currency. That may change. That's me adding, but that could change. Actually, that's in the article. Since 2014, China has been quietly working on its own central bank digital currency, which is a souped-up e-version of its homegrown yuan. And this year, the People's Bank of China launched a real-world beta test of its central bank digital currency in more than 30 major cities to iron out any bugs. In June, it even held a lottery to give out digital wallets with 200 yuan to 200,000 citizens to jumpstart adoption. There's other banks that are exploring, including France, Korea, Russia. Now, what does all this mean for the US? Well, it means that the US is starting to explore this idea, putting out white papers, exploring what this would look like. Now, I just want to point out this little article because it talks about what some of the concerns are. But let me share with you real quick how I view a central bank digital currency. Essentially, it is digitizing a nation's currency, moving it away from this relationship that central banks share right now, where you have the central bank issues new currency. Right? This is when inflation takes place. New money gets brought on. The more money you have in the money supply, the less that money is worth. That's what inflation is. A rise in prices is a result of the increase in the money supply. Many people that are uninformed will believe that inflation is the price. Inflation happens when businesses and retailers increase prices, right? When in reality, inflation is a response to an increase in the money supply. It's a classic supply and demand scenario. The greater the supply you have of something, the less it tends to be worth. The relationship that commercial banks share with central banks right now is that the currency is issued by the central bank, and then it's then given to the commercial banks. Now, interestingly enough, we have something called fractional reserve banking in the US. This is how inflation just goes gangbusters. When these commercial banks receive a certain amount of money, they're able to lend out 10 times the money that they have on reserve, right? Same thing when someone goes to put $10,000 into a savings account at a particular bank, the bank can then go out and loan $100,000. That's how this funny money, this facade of an economy, a global economy, is propped up. There's nothing free market about it. It's absolute manipulation and funny money. Well, in most aspects, it's the commercial banks that are doing business with the end consumer. But one thing that central banks could disrupt is creating that new money and then directly doling it out to the consumer. Now, they may still rely on commercial banks. In fact, there's this great article that Edward Snowden put out on his little Substack, and he actually has a really good illustration here that makes this a little more clear. Let me share that with you real quick. So there's different ways that these central bank digital currencies could flow. There could be indirect central bank digital currency where the central bank issues the CBDC, central bank digital currency, to the commercial bank, and then the commercial bank serves as an intermediary between the central bank and the people and the merchants, right? Or you could have a direct central bank digital currency where it goes in between directly the people and the merchants. I think that's even far more alarming. Or there could be a hybrid where there's payment service providers that then issue the tokens, but people can pay back directly to the central bank digital currency. Now, let me show you this article, what's pretty alarming. It really shows what the central bank digital currencies could be used for, why people are supporting this trend, right? So supporters of a Fed-backed digital dollar say those benefits include cheaper and faster financial transactions and speedier distribution of federal funds such as Social Security benefits or aid such as stimulus checks. Now, let me stop right there for a second. COVID-19, the pandemic, was the perfect accelerator for many of the programs and goals of this global elite, these power players, this class of oligarchs that are seeking to create totalitarian, centralized surveillance societies. Just like 9/11 accelerated the control, the tyranny, the Patriot Act, the John Warner Defense Authorization Act, the internment of U.S. citizens without trial, with no habeas corpus, the surveillance state through the NSA, so too has COVID-19 accelerated the expansion of these controls. And one of those controls, of course, is a desire to create a universal basic income, to create a nation of people that are wholly dependent on government in order for their very sustenance, in order for them to feed their family. They are most definitely dependent on government, right? And what's that expression? That which the government gives you, the government can take away. We're experiencing a phenomenon where through the destruction of private enterprise, through the propping up of large centralized corporations, governments and bureaucrats and public health authorities are making it more difficult for people to be independent. They want people to be dependent on their institutions, so they're more easily controlled and manipulated. That's what's taking place right now. That's how much of these mandates, vaccine mandates, and all this stuff is working. People are dependent on their income. People don't have other opportunities for work. You have small business owners that were making it on their own, that were living off the fruits of their own labor in complete control of their financial destiny. And sure enough, the lockdowns came and swept all of that away. Now we had these stimulus payments that everyone was so excited about, and all the money was there and free money, right? This is just setting the stage and creating a foundation to make it easier to roll out central bank digital currencies, to make it easier to usher in universal basic income, and ultimately take more control over people's lives and take away more choice than ever before. Now let's get back to the article here. According to the FDIC's 2019 How America Banks survey, there are about 7.1 million unbanked households in America, so the digital dollar could also be a way to boost economic equality for these folks too. They always talk about equality and equity. That's what the Great Reset we're going to talk about is all about. Most of whom have mobile devices, which could be primary central bank digital currency access tool, right? Now, some people think this all sounds good and well, and it's just going to make things a little bit more efficient and great, but here's where the scary part comes in, and kudos to this article for pointing it out, but they're not like sounding any alarm bells. However, critics note that some of the so-called strengths of central bank digital currencies are also primary weaknesses. Central bank digital currencies are not crypto-coded, so they're not anonymous, and they will likely originate on a government-run blockchain. Blockchain is simply a distributed public ledger. The movement of digital dollars would be, although it doesn't have to be distributed, and most likely a central bank digital currency blockchain ledger would not be decentralized. The movement of digital dollars would be trackable. So while it would help curb funding of terrorists and eliminate money laundering, government workers would have explicit details on every transaction you make. Potentially, U.S. state and federal tax agencies could track taxable transactions and secure automatic payments at their discretion without advance notice. Also, depending on which political party is in power, the government could conceivably politicize CBDC payments, such as blocking payments to charities or religious organizations, or blocking CBDC use for certain goods, such as birth control or bullets. Now, we see things coming into a clearer picture of how central bank digital currencies could be useful for technocrats. What's a technocrat? What's technocracy? It's a system of governance where you're ruled not by politicians, which isn't ideal. We prefer we prefer self-governance. Technocracy is ruled by experts, ruled by scientists, ruled by technicians. Central bank digital currencies are a wonderful tool because the currency is directly issued by the central bank. It's digital. It's tracked and traced. It can be turned off. It can be limited, right? The mark of the beast in the book of Revelations talked about having this number, and you can be denied the ability to do commerce. That's exactly what's coming into play. Now, the People's Republic of China, what a funny joke that it's a republic, the Communist Chinese Party, they have a social credit score in their country. There's also the beginnings and inklings of a social credit score in England as well, right? It's not a stretch of the imagination in the least bit that these central bank digital currencies will most definitely be tied to your social credit score. And how easy would it be for new regulations on firearms, for example, or ammunition to come out, or my beloved kratom that provides sustenance to me and helps me to feed my family, to make it where that's just shut off, right? This is the reality we're facing. In fact, I heard about central bank digital currencies in an NPR article. I'd already known what they were and began kind of researching them a little bit, but this NPR story, occasionally I listen to KUT, it's the NPR affiliate, just to kind of, I don't want to lose touch with what people are thinking. It's good, in my opinion, to check out mainstream media occasionally, just so you can have a better understanding of what the masses are doing and why they're behaving the way that they do. But the central bank digital currency story, they were like, imagine the convenience of being able to send some money to your child when they go off to college and making sure that that money only gets spent on textbooks and rent, right? And they're talking about how great this is. And it's like, wait a second, how else could that be utilized? How else can that be taken advantage of? Now, before I present some solutions, I also want to share about some other things that we are facing. We're facing what's called a great reset. A great reset. Chances are, if you've followed my channel, if you follow the work of Derek Bros, or if you're any bit aware of what's taking place in the world, you're familiar with the Great Reset. It's a program of the World Economic Forum, which is an NGO, a non-governmental organization, comprised of some of the wealthiest people in the world, people that I would like to refer to as oligarchs. They have plans to create more centralization, greater surveillance, and more control of human beings, and, to be honest, all biology on Earth. The World Economic Forum has been around for quite some time. They meet annually in Davos, Switzerland, to talk about policy, direction, shifts in global events. And more recently, they launched what they're calling the Great Reset. Essentially, it's a marketing campaign for the New World Order 2.0. Globalization, control, centralization of authority, mixed with technology and what's known as the Fourth Industrial Revolution. We've had industrial revolutions in the past, industry, steam, factories, right? And then we have this information revolution, internet, interconnectivity of information. Now what they want to do is this fourth industrial revolution, where they want to essentially merge biology. By that I mean life, living life, not just human beings, but all biodiversity on Earth, with technology. Track, trace, surveil, analyze. That's what the Great Reset is all about. They essentially want to reshape the institutions in society, whether it's government, business, public health, technology. They're going to move away from private enterprise and free markets, as though we have free markets now, and move to a more centralized form of capitalism they call stakeholder capitalism, where they impress upon people their values. And the values, and they all coax this, and this all has some veneer as though it's for the benefit of mankind, right? They sell it to you as though their primary goals are sustainability and equity, when in reality nothing could be further from the truth, right? They essentially, it's just all about control. A lot of these people are megalomaniacs. Sundog brings up the Internet of Bodies. Yeah, to go a little bit deeper on the Fourth Industrial Revolution, there's this whole element of giving everyone a digital identity that may be blockchain based, right? Again, I want to point out that there are benefits to decentralized blockchains. For example, this video will be stored on the library blockchain, so even if YouTube were to censor it, it would still be available for mass distribution. Not to mention, as central bank digital currencies come into play, we are still going to be able to do business with one another using decentralized cryptocurrencies, especially privacy-oriented cryptocurrencies like Monero or Pirate Chain. I'm going to discuss that a little bit more in depth. But one of the big concerns with this fourth industrial revolution, with this Internet of Bodies, with this smart cities program, is that through 5G technology, through increased computing power, through receivers and transmitters and tracking in phones, in little hubs, in street lights and street lamps and trees and antennas everywhere, these technocrats want to create a situation where everything is known, right? There's these three elements that it's said that God possesses, these three elements. Omniscience, which is all-knowing. Omnipresence, which is being everywhere at once. And omnipotence, which is being all-powerful, right? And a lot of these crazy people, they've reached the pinnacle of success in society. If you determine success by money, people are multi-billionaires, totally just rich beyond their wildest dreams. And I believe, it's my belief, my analysis of their human psychology, that they reach a point where they're like, well, we got all the money that we could ever imagine. What can we do now? Maybe we should try to seek godhood, or immortality, perhaps. And through machines, technology, artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, the Internet of Bodies. They want to create an environment where these entities that they control and bring into fruition are everywhere, all at once, all knowing and all powerful. And that's what this Internet of Things and this Internet of Bodies and these smart cities aim to do. There's even a planetary supercomputer that Microsoft is developing that wants to track, trace, catalog, analyze all biodiversity on Earth. It's absolutely nuts. I tell you what. And this is all happening. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is most definitely fact. And it's very frightening. But I want to share, like I said before, it all depends. We have power over how we show up for this. We can show up in a state of victimhood and impotence, where we're like, oh my God, we're screwed. They're going to control us. They're going to take over. What about my children? And like that leads to inaction and fear and weakness. Or we can show up as powerful, beautiful, free human beings that are ready and willing to take up the banner of freedom and liberty, self-determination and bodily autonomy, and create a better world so our children, our children's children, and the 7 generations beyond us do not have to suffer the same controls and despotism that we have in many instances grown accustomed to. And I want to invite you to make the choice that I made many years ago, and I seem to always double down on that choice. I want to invite you to choose freedom, to choose to become more active in your community, to choose to consciously make decisions about what you do, how you spend your money, where you live, who you live with, who you associate with, to consciously choose to live a more free lifestyle and to help your brothers and sisters, friends and associates, community members to do the same. All right, now let's switch gears here into solutions mode. All right, we've been on for about 30 minutes and we've focused largely on the problem. Now let's talk about the solution. So we have this central bank digital. One thing too, just to really ramp up the importance of all this, there's major inflation taking place right now. I don't know what the consumer price index says it is. Let's see. CPI inflation. I'm talking about the US. I know we have a global audience here, but it's the same everywhere, all around. The CPI inflation calculator. Let's see if this says what it is right now. That's not what we're looking for. News. I don't know. Last time I saw it was like 4 or 5% or 2.2% in New Zealand. It's all bogus and fake and funny numbers and manipulated, of course. If you're going to the grocery store, if you're purchasing a new car or whatever, you'll understand that these prices are absolutely gangbusters. We're getting a new air conditioner installed in our home, and the gentleman told us, because I got sticker shock when they quoted me, I was like, whoa, that's not what I expected in the least bit, but we've entered a new paradigm. And the guy's like, well, you know, I understand you got sticker shock, but I got to tell you, we used to have price increases once a year. We've already had 4 this year, and each one of them was a 10% price increase, meaning the price has gone up 40%. It's not just the increase in the money supply that's causing the prices to go up, although that's the primary determining factor. There's also these supply chain shortages and economic problems and troubles, and institutions and systems are crippling and breaking in front of our very eyes. So I just want to kind of encourage and push people to do more, right? To do more. There's been times like in 2006 is when I started worrying and learning about economic collapse and crisis. And I was concerned that the bottom was going to fall out. I knew about inflation. I knew about funny money. I knew about the manipulation of the stock market, all this stuff, right? And it was my belief and some of my friends' beliefs that the economy was going to collapse and it was going to be a total failure. Sure enough, we were just off by a year or two because we had the housing crisis and the subsequent bailouts. However, it wasn't this total collapse that we thought it would be, right? New money came in, more inflation took place, and the government bailed out these industries that should have been left to die. And one of the realizations that I had And my dad helped me to figure this out. It's like I'd been beating on my dad, like, you got to buy silver, you got to get out of the stock markets, you got to get out of dollars, your savings are being depleted, right? This is all true. However, he said something to me that stuck with me to this day. He said, you know, John, I was like, Dad, the economy's going to collapse, it's going to fail. He's definitely more established, had found success in his life. I was just a kid, I guess. This was 2006. How many years ago was that? 14 years ago. So I guess I would have been 23. And so he said, you know, John, let me do it, my impression of my dad. You know, John, somebody said the sound went off. Can you guys still hear me? Oh, okay. Can you guys hear me now? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. We should be good to go. So my dad said, you know, John, I can go up to the attic right now and find a book called How to Profit from the Upcoming Collapse that was written in 1978. And that just really stuck with me. And it made me realize that what we're experiencing is a frog in the boiling pot, slow, gradual manipulation and shift in society. It's not a flashbang, instant change. It's a slowly but surely put the pieces into play like a chess game. Zbigniew Brzezinski called the global geopolitics the grand chessboard, right? So it's like putting the pieces into play. So slowly but surely, through gradualism and manipulation, we can usher in our new world order. That's exactly what's taking place. And that was a big realization for me. That's why a lot of people are like, I want there to be a sense of urgency, but I also want people to understand that the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. And one of my good friends that lives on the property with us, he was sharing, like, I'm concerned. I don't know how fast this is going to take place. I feel like we're not doing enough. And I just wanted to encourage him, like, we're going to be having these same conversations 10, 20 years from now. We're going to be talking about what are we going to do? When's the bottom? When's this new phase going to take place? I wish we had more food. I wish we had more ammunition, more preparedness, right? So I don't want to take away a sense of urgency because we need to be doing more all the time, but I do want people to recognize that we're in a long game. This is a multi-generational struggle. And just as the powers that wish they were, the manipulators, the technocrats, the globalists, have a multi-generational plan, and they've been slowly but surely putting their chess pieces into position, I too suggest that we do the same thing. We consciously think now with an understanding, a strategic understanding of where things are going, which I hope to deliver through my podcast and through my business, Live Free Academy. I want to help you guys understand where things are going based on my analysis on nearly 20 years of research, where things are going, not so we can freak out, not so we can share articles online, but so we can better understand how to insulate ourselves from the coming reset, from the changes that are taking place in society. And if we can feel strong enough and empowered enough, we can play an active role in the future of humanity. I strongly believe that. On a micro level, the more of us that do this on a micro level, it ripples outward in a macro phase. So what I started off by saying, but then I kind of contradicted myself, was that we have some major inflation going on. We have major supply chain shortages taking place. And I believe that we are due for some serious correction and unrest in the markets. I should have shared earlier, the price of Bitcoin right now is $66,000. That is absolutely redonkulous. And one thing that I realized earlier is that $66,000 Bitcoin is a symptom of the economic problems that we're facing right now, because smart money, big money, legacy financial institutions that have been at the game for quite some time, they, along with we Austrian economists and we people that are open-minded and don't just buy what you see on CNBC, the smart money is beginning to recognize that the bottom could fall out and there could be some major problems that we're all facing. That's why we see this money flooding into Bitcoin. And for me, that is a symptom, like a canary in a coal mine, that shit is not doing well for legacy financial markets, stock markets, bond markets, fiat currencies. Something's got to give. So you need to make sure that you are prepared. Now, what can we do about it? Ben here says, looking to buy land. Should I stay in the U.S. or go somewhere else? I want to encourage you to sign up, if you've not already, for the Exit and Build Land Summit. We're going to be discussing just that. And in fact, the Exit and Build Land Summit is absolutely free, 100% free. You can take place in all the Saturday activities. But on Sunday, We have a paid immersion integration. We're purposefully charging for that because we want to have fewer people that participate, but we want to have the right people that participate. Whenever you spend money on something, it's a signal to myself and my business and the people putting on this event, and it's a signal to yourself, more importantly, that you're truly committed to this work, that you really want to take away from it, that you're not just going to ignore or doze off or whatever. So I want to encourage you to take advantage of that $97 offer once you sign up for the summit. And to specifically answer your question, we're giving away a free report as part of that $97 package, where I'm going to break down and analyze what I believe to be the best places to move to. I'm going to share with you one of them is really close to home because it happens to be where I reside here in Central Texas. We got a huge community, lots of land, lots of economic growth, relative economic freedom, relative personal freedom compared to other places. So strongly encourage you to check that out. I'll maybe do a video on that soon, but we're definitely going to cover that in the summit as well. Okay, so let's get down to solutions. Let me have a sip of some of my lovely kratom in our little Brave Botanicals shaker bottle. Okay, what are we going to do about it? We have this great reset, fourth industrial revolution taking place. We have the specter of central bank digital currencies, which are able to monitor and regulate and control how you spend your money. What I believe we ought to do about it is double down on our purchase of, and more importantly, use of decentralized cryptocurrencies, most specifically privacy coins like Monero and Pirate Chain. Now, one of the reasons why I love doing these broadcasts is because I'm like giving all this advice and stuff, and as I give it, I occasionally feel this little inconsistency inside when I'm not living up to what it is that I'm teaching, when I'm not practicing what I'm preaching. And one of those things is with the cryptocurrency, I just been in a holding pattern, hold on for dear life. Been in a crypto since 2011, 2012, 2013. Took my family and I on the road, and I believe that we really helped to pioneer cryptocurrency. We went on cross-country road trips in 2014, 2015 using cryptocurrency only. And there was so much crypto that came in, all the crypto came out. So there's all these people that think I'm millionaire 100 times over, which I could have been, but I spent all that crypto. So for, as a lesson, I've been like, oh, wow, should have probably held on to that or been in a much better financial place, right? But sometimes I just share the little cycles that are going on in my head, the thought processes. But in order to overcome this central bank digital currency, it's important for us to establish our own counter economy. This is something from Samuel Edward Konkin in the New Libertarian Manifesto. This is the strategy of agorism, revolutionary market anarchism. It's counter-establishment economics, right? So you have the establishment economics, which have been manipulated and controlled, right? Fiat currency, inflation. But now we have this now you add technology. That's the big change with all this New World Order stuff. For the longest time, it was like, we want to create a centralized totalitarian government. We want to control people. We want to monitor people, right? And even, as back as the Club of Rome back in the 60s and 70s, these little elite groups, these roundtable groups and secret society groups, they're like, well, we want to create a cashless society where we can control people, basically spelling out the mark of the beast in the book of Revelations. But back then it was speculation. They didn't have the technology. They weren't technologically capable of pulling this stuff off. They still wanted their New World Order. That's why now we have this New World Order 2.0. There's a very real possibility that this stuff will come into play. In fact, it very most likely will come into play. I don't know that we can prevent it entirely, but what we can hope to do is insulate ourselves and offer an alternative, a counter-economic alternative to counter the establishment narrative and establishment programs that are taking place. So you have this establishment economy, the white economy, above market, controlled, manipulated, fiat, central bank digital currencies being added to the fray, where you can be controlled, you can have your finances shut off. And what we need to do, yin and yang, right? For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. We need to create our counter-establishment, counter-economy, which takes the form of small micro communities trading amongst themselves, employing one another. How do we overcome the vaccine mandates? We run our own businesses, we become entrepreneurs, and we employ one another, and we do business with each other. right? So this all takes place on multiple different scales and multiple different avenues. On a micro scale in your community, join the Freedom Cell network, join any network, any community, whatever the hell it is. I don't know what it is, but I know that the Freedom Cell network exists. There's over 26,000 people that are participating. Join a community, build a community, motivate an existing community, and really start trading amongst one another, supporting each other's businesses, hiring one another. Ever since I've been in business, I've only hired like-minded anarchist, liberty people, Freedom Cell people. In fact, one of my current folks that's working with me, his name's Brad. He's a total badass dude, lives on the property with us. He's our first community member. Put it out in a Freedom Cell group on Telegram. Hey, I'm looking to hire someone to help with this, that, and the other. And Brad messaged me. And what I appreciated, he had a really sharp video where he explained his, that's what I do. Like, hey, I'm hiring somebody. Send me your resume and send me a video. Most people respond. They're like, hey, I got this, I got this, I got this. But they leave the video off. And then you're like, well, this guy can't follow instructions, so I'm not even going to bother with him. But Brad sent the badass video. And Brad's like, hey, I feel drawn to the Central Texas area. I feel drawn to your work. My point is, there's so many of us now, there's no reason why we shouldn't be working with one another. In a way to overcome the mandates, there's no chance in hell that I'm going to mandate any vaccine or any medical procedure whatsoever for anybody that ever works with me. I do, however, require a drug test once they're hired. And if they pass the drug test, meaning they have no drugs in their system, then unfortunately they just can't work with me. So I can't have any squares work. I'm just kidding. But that's one of the solutions. We work together. We build our own resilient economies, trade networks, farmers markets. Another great thing we're doing with the Central Texas Freedom Cell Network, we have a food co-op and a meat share. I've gone in on one of them. We all went in and split a cow, right? And I unfortunately don't have enough freezer space now. We need to buy another freezer. We just got solar panels, thankfully, and 3 Tesla power walls. So we should be able to manage a freezer in the event of a grid down situation overnight, which is really cool. But we have a community and everyone's chipping in money and we're buying cows and stuff and splitting it up amongst ourselves. How resilient is that? Everybody's focused on the problem, the supply chain shortages, the increase in meat, Procter & Gamble's increasing their prices, blah, 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 blah. And they're just like focused on that, sharing about that, fear, fear, fear. And they're being reactive. They're caught in a reactionary paradigm. We need to switch, flip the script from one of reactivity to one of proactivity, which just so happens to be the first habit of highly effective people from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Be proactive. So build those resilient communities. They got their central bank digital currency. They're issuing this. They're taxing that. And they're like, hey, man, we've been doing our own thing for the past 6 months, 2 years. So whatever. You know, I had this realization. We had a birthday party for my lovely fiance at our property and had a bunch of people. There must have been 50 or 60 people there. It was an absolute blast. We were sitting around the fire, and what was it that somebody brought up? Somebody brought up mandates or something like that. And I just had this feeling like, I feel kind of special that shit doesn't even apply to me at all. Because I've deliberately, calculatedly, consciously focused on the lifestyle design, my lifestyle design for years now. And I've put myself in a position where I have financial abundance finally, nowhere near where I'm gonna be, but it's sure as hell feels great to not have to worry about money anymore. And there's no one that can hold any strings above my head to try to get me to do anything. I just had this feeling like, wow, this is fucking great. I felt that way about our community too. It's like they're mandating, they're requiring this, masks on children in school. And it's like, not for me and my people. That doesn't apply to us because we're sovereign, because we don't buy into that bullshit, right? And if you're not in that situation, if you're somebody that's frustrated and loses sleep at night because your son or daughter goes to public school and they have to wear a mask, then I strongly encourage you to take control of your life, to make choices, to make a decision, and then to put the chess pieces of your life into play so you can pull your damn kids out of government school. If you're worried about, you work with someone that has over 100 employees and you're concerned that the mandate's gonna go down or whatever, then I encourage you to start that side hustle, to start looking for work outside of that paradigm so you're not caught with your pants down or caught in a position where you're forced to do something that you don't wanna do. All right, so that's the micro solution to all this. It's a solution to the central bank digital currency, to the greater reset, to the control paradigm, to the fourth industrial revolution, Internet of Things, right? Another solution to the central bank digital currencies is decentralized privacy cryptocurrencies, right? And here's where a lot of people are lost, unfortunately, and there's a lot of folks that are peddling all this stuff, and essentially what they want to do is throw the baby out with the bathwater, okay? They see blockchain-based identity. They see Internet of Things. They see central bank digital currencies, which isn't even really blockchain at all. It's definitely not decentralized. And then they see that and they think Bitcoin, blockchain, cryptocurrency, bad. It's lacking a little bit of, there's a little bit of nuance in this world, guys. It's not all black and white. It's not all good or bad. Just like a firearm can be used to protect your family from an intruder, right? Or to kill a deer for meat, venison, or whatever. A firearm could also be used to coerce somebody, to tax them, or to fight a war and kill innocent civilians. All right, same thing with cryptocurrency, decentralized cryptocurrency. Early on, like I said, I've been in it for a while, and we were all like so optimistic, still optimistic. But we're like, wow, cryptocurrency's here. It's totally going to end the banks. Right? Ron Paul was like, we need to audit the Fed and end the Fed. There's this end the Fed movement. And I was like, well, if we want to end the Fed, we should stop using Federal Reserve notes. Before I learned about cryptocurrency or got really big into cryptocurrency, I was like, why don't we use these silver dimes and junk silver, right? But I never grasped how cunning and how the central banks and the powers that be, they always seem to be like a couple steps ahead of it. So some people think that cryptocurrency or Satoshi Nakamoto is the NSA or whatever. They point to this white paper, but it's not. There's no blockchain. There's no proof of work algorithms for confirmation and the creation of new money. It's not decentralized. I think that cryptocurrency was genuinely created by some cypherpunks, but because the state and the powers that wish they were are so cunning and they've been at it for so long, and they're like, oh, ho, ho, ho. Well played there, people. Now we're going to adopt this, right? So it's like the cryptocurrency is going to end the central banks, and the central banks are like, nah, we're going to go ahead and utilize some of the features of cryptocurrency in order to usher in more control. But here's the beauty of it all. These decentralized blockchains are uncontrollable. Yes, someone can pass regulations and laws requiring this, that, or the other, know your customer checks, scanning of a driver's license here and there, whatever. But at the end of the day, the network itself cannot be controlled, cannot be regulated, cannot be stopped or shut down, because free people have a choice as to whether or not they participate in it in the establishment economy kind of way, or if they engage in these institutions in a counter-economic manner. And the best cryptocurrencies for the counter economy are these privacy coins, namely Monero and Pirate Chain, also known as scrub the poop deck. It's by time we undermine the scallywags at the central bank and opt out of their digital currency altogether. You know what I'm saying? Monero, Pirate Chain. Now, something people don't know, Bitcoin itself is a completely transparent and public blockchain. That means you have a public address, essentially like your account number. If your public address is in some way tied to your identity, which it is if you purchase cryptocurrency through Coinbase or above board exchanges that require you to do what's called a know your customer check. This is part of the Department of Treasury's Anti-Money Laundering Bank Secrecy Act. You tie your identity with this driver's license, you purchase cryptocurrency, you send it to a public address that's tied to your identity. Then you send it to another address. Because the Bitcoin blockchain is completely transparent, it can be tracked from transaction to transaction. Now, there's strategies and there's mechanisms and there's tactics that you can employ in order to obfuscate the transaction. You can do a peer-to-peer purchase from someone where that doesn't require know your customer, right? You can use an exchange like KuCoin, KU coin, that doesn't require know your customer driver's license scans unless you withdraw more than 2 Bitcoin a day, which you're doing pretty good if you're going to do that. I teach about all of this in my cryptocurrency workshops. You can gain access to those workshops, actually, to let you in on a little secret. There's a 14-day free trial. If you sign up for the membership, you get access to all of the cryptocurrency workshops I've ever done. If you really want to, you can cancel the membership within the 14 days and not be charged anything. Don't do that, though, because you're going to get so much value out of it. You're going to want to stick around. But I teach all about how to get cryptocurrency privately in both the Cryptocurrency for Beginners workshop that I did a couple months ago and the Demystifying Cryptocurrency comprehensive workshop that I did several months ago. You can go to livefreemembership.com, livefreemembership.com, sign up for a 14-day free trial and get access to that material so you can learn how to obtain cryptocurrency and how to transact in cryptocurrency completely privately. Because this, my friends, is the ultimate antidote to the central bank digital currencies. And unfortunately, there are some people that are misinformed about the benefits of cryptocurrency, and they're going to miss out altogether. Now, I started with the microcosm of a local community trading amongst themselves, bartering with one another, using silver, trading goods for goods, right? That is where we start. But let us not kid ourselves. We are entering a digital age. We're already in a digital age. We're entering an increasingly digital world where people like to do business online. And if you want to be able to do business online, counter economic activities, if you want to be able to purchase kratom from me, something that the government does not approve of, helps with stress, anxiety, focus, energy, helps with sleep, helps overcome addiction, helps people quit pharmaceuticals, which is why they don't like it, then you are going to want to learn how to use cryptocurrency, most especially these privacy coins. That's where people are going to get left in the dark. They're rejecting cryptocurrency altogether because they misunderstand it. They're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. But if you understand cryptocurrency, if you get yourself a hold of some Monero and some Pirate Chain, we're still going to be able to do business with one another outside of the scope of the central bank digital currency. Okay? Okay, another solution to the supply chain problems, the inflation, the Great Reset, the smart cities agenda, and the central bank digital currencies is to get your ass out of the cities. I want to do a whole video on this as a strategy because there's already been multiple people that are like, that's cowardly. You're giving up. You're a coward. It's like, that's not exactly what I would say. In fact, I think it's pretty brave and bold to change your life, to uproot your life, and to go build community. We're not admitting defeat, although we're switching the stage of battle away from one that I don't believe at this point we can win. Sometimes like a general or just somebody that's trying to advance a particular mission, you have to cede certain territory. And it's my belief that major cities like New York City, like Chicago, like Los Angeles, and even my beloved hometown, Austin, Texas, which has gone really, really downhill. I'm not sure that free people like us, right? I don't even think conservative Republicans can take control of those cities and bring in a little bit less government, a little more palatable of a government compared to this hard left communist nonsense. I don't think it's possible there. I also do not think at this point, with the momentum that the powers that wish they were have, I do not think that we're going to be able to halt entirely this Great Reset agenda or stop the creation of central bank digital currencies. But the question becomes, if we can't stop it altogether, what do we do to protect ourselves from it? And it's my belief that moving outside of the cities, again, the cities are where traditionally all the tyranny takes place. The riots, the militarized, federalized police, the drug war, the regulatory scheme, making it hard to do business, making it hard to build homes, all of that stuff. It all takes place there. And it's not just the traditional tyranny, but now we have New World Order 2.0, aka technocracy, aka the Great Reset, aka the Internet of Things, aka the Internet of Bodies, aka the Fourth Industrial Revolution, aka smart cities, where they're going to put all the 5G towers around. Now they're going to have the bandwidth and the ability to share so much information about every single thing that every human being, every animal, every building, every air conditioner, it all does. They're going to be able to pull it into a big supercomputer and analyze, track, trace everything. And you put all these pieces together, you have your blockchain identity card that's tied to your vaccine passport, or eventually perhaps an implantable microchip or some sort of quantum dot tattoo that Bill Gates is funding through Rice University. And your credit score has dipped down because you visited undesirable websites or you attended an anti-climate change lockdown protest. Yes, folks, the situation is such that everyone obeyed the lockdowns. Not everyone. I was driving around in doing business. In fact, I shifted my business so I would be essential, selling hand sanitizer. I sold masks early on too, when I was like, I don't know what's going on. Is this legit? What's going on here? And they were KN95 masks, which I genuinely do believe could help in certain situations. These cloth masks and stuff are completely ridiculous, but stopped selling them because it didn't feel right, knowing what I knew as I learned more and researched more. But I was like, I'm not going to be locked down. I'm going to go make some money. I'm going to go do some business in these crazy times. Nonetheless, the lockdown paradigm is going to be shifted from one of coronavirus public health lockdowns to a climate change lockdown. It's already been put forward by economists, the scientists, quote unquote experts, air quotes. So that's where this stuff is playing out. That's where the control paradigm is playing out. That's where the lockdowns are playing out. It all can be brought together. Your social credit score. You used more than your allotted carbon credits for the month. Therefore, your private automobile gets shut down. Or maybe we're in a paradigm where they've ultimately outdone the private automobile is a thing of the past. Now it's all autonomous automobiles. If there's anything on your own, or it's public transportation, you scan your little COVID immunity passport. That's where it got put into play. You scan your little thing, and you're only able to go to the grocery store when it comes to the public transportation system. You're not able to go visit a friend. It's code red, climate alarmism, whatever the hell's going on. This is all going to take place in the city. And by golly, I got to tell you, it is going to be much, 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 much more difficult to implement this stuff, if not impossible, in the counties, in the rural areas outside of the city. The strategy that I'm employing is what Derek Bros coined as exit and build. Exit the matrix, exit the centralized institutions, exit the coercive institutions, exit the big cities, and build new institutions, decentralized institutions, voluntary in rural areas. Exit the big cities, buy land and build in the rural communities. And let's a bunch of us do it. Let's all exit together. Let's exit together, buy land in certain pockets. I like New Hampshire. I like Central Texas the best. I like Arizona, Montana, Florida, right? Let's all congregate in these areas. Let's build Morelia, Mexico. Derek Bros is going to talk about that at our summit. He's got a community that they're building down there. And let's build our communities. Whether we cooperatively purchase land and have a more traditional intentional community, or we purchase land on our own and we link up with our neighbors, we find common ground with existing neighbors, but we also have our like-minded people that all move to these areas, right? And we form a confederation of sorts where we have trade routes and agorist networks and counter economies, and we have surplus energy gets transmitted over here via our wireless Tesla devices or whatever. Actually, Nikola Tesla. That's my vision. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing the Exit and Build Land Summit. I invite you to register today. It's absolutely free for the Saturday activities. We're going to hear from Jack Spirko, Marjorie Wildcraft, Cynthia Tina, Derek Bros, Nicole Sauce. Absolutely free. We're going to teach you how and why you should exit the city and buy land and build community in rural areas. I'm doing this because I see as a strategy for us to find freedom and exit this beast system is to build community in these areas and to link up these communities and form our own freedom nation. Not a nation state, but a nation of like-minded people that share common goals and common values that want to work together for freedom. So again, that's exitandbuildlandsummit.com, exitandbuildlandsummit.com. Laura says we shouldn't have to move, nor should we have to develop a society they can eventually control again. Well, Laura, you're welcome to stay exactly where you are. I have one lifetime on this earth. I have 2 children. I see you do too. And I want my children to enjoy better quality of life. And I believe the quality of life stuck in traffic, with smog, with cameras and surveillance everywhere. I think I can have a better quality of life. My children can have a better quality of life outside of the cities. I find more hope outside of there. I believe it's going to be more difficult for the powers that wish they were to control pockets of agorist societies all over the world, rather than us being herded and put into dense, compact cities and surveilled and tracked and traced everywhere we go. All right, again, that's exitandbuildlandsummit.com. To sum up, guys, I'm about to do the Unloose the Goose podcast. Maybe we'll stream it to my channel here. If not, you can go to Unloose the Goose on YouTube, Unloose the Goose. We're going to be talking about homesteading as well with Rob Kaiser and Nicole Sauce. But to sum up, we talked about central bank digital currencies. This is a new form of digital currency that central banks will issue that can be tracked, traced, controlled, shut off. You can only purchase A, B, or C. If your social credit score dips down, you're not going to be able to purchase this, that, or the other. You won't be able to do business with me buying Kratom and CBD. We talked about the Great Reset, the World Economic Forum's plan for a New World Order 2.0, which part of it is the Fourth Industrial Revolution, Internet of Things, Internet of Bodies, right? And I talked about solutions to that, building resilient counter economies in local areas, trading amongst ourselves, creating our own employment opportunities, hiring one another to avoid the mandates. We talked about the importance of private cryptocurrencies like Monero and Pirate Chain, which will enable us to still do business over the internet with no one can track it and trace it whatsoever. I think I neglected to point out, Bitcoin has a transparent blockchain. These cryptocurrencies, the blockchain is completely private. You can't see who sent what to whom, how much they sent, when they sent it. It's all a secret, which is really cool. And then we talked about, in my opinion, why we should exit the big cities and we should buy land in rural communities and form our own communities out there, link up all the communities so we can have strength in numbers, we can be resilient, and we can find peace and freedom and liberty in our lifetime and pass that on to future generations. This is John Bush, encouraging you to check out the Live Free Academy membership next week, the week of, I mean, if you're hearing this down the road, then this will be different, but the week of the 25th, on the 26th and 27th, I believe, I'm going to be breaking down 4 different investment opportunities that I believe are super critical for free people. Investing in yourself, investing in a business or increasing your income, investing in cryptocurrency, investing in land. And then on the 28th, we're going to hear from a CPA. If you're in cryptocurrency and the price has gone to $66,000, or if you made trades and sales, then this CPA is a cryptocurrency expert. He's going to help you out. That's all available to Live Free Academy members. You can do a 14-day free trial at livefreemembership.com, livefreemembership.com. You'll also get access to all of the cryptocurrency workshops and the previous material that we've done in the past. And again, I strongly invite you to check out the free summit. It's on November 6th, exitandbuildlandsummit.com, exitandbuildlandsummit.com. Make sure you take advantage of the immersion integration package, digital downloads, all the Sunday activities, and a couple free reports that I think you'll benefit from immensely. This is John Bush signing out. Peace and freedom.